All right, here with Joey Gathright, former Major League Baseball player. So, first question for you, Joey. I know back in high school in Louisiana, you were mainly recruited for football, not so much for baseball. So, when you were drafted by Tampa in 2001, how much about the minor league lifestyle did you know about prior? Did you know it wasn't a straight shot to the major leagues, that it would require some long days, long bus rides, and just maybe some low pay involved as well. So how much about the minor league lifestyle do you know getting before getting into it?
I knew nothing, to be honest with you. They recruited me in 11th grade. Yeah, I guess I was good at baseball, my entire life. But yeah, once I got to 11th grade, I realized that teams started coming around. My coach didn't really want to tell me, and once my senior year came around, I played football, which is a bad decision. I ended up getting hurt. But long story short, I knew nothing, to be honest with you. I just knew that. I honestly thought once they said they were going to draft me, I thought I was going to the major leagues.
Oh, really?
Go. I mean, Griffey did it at the time. I really didn't know much. So when they said they were going to draft me to play baseball, it's like I'm going straight to the major leagues. That's going to be awesome. But it didn't work out that way. I ended up going to the minor leagues instead, and that was a whole nother animal, man. It just I did not know that because I only signed for 23,000. I was
Mm-hmm.
promised 200,000, but I played football, like I said, my senior
Mm-hmm.
year, and I got hurt, and that changed the demographic of how much I was going to get paid. But the money didn't really matter to me. I just assumed in my mind that I was going to make it to the major leagues no matter what. So
Okay, so now I want to ask you about that viral video that went out like a long time ago with you jumping over the car. Um, First off, why did you decide to jump over a car? And could you still jump over a car today in 2018?
well, the first time I jumped over a car, I was in the 10th grade. We
Oh,
were sitting
wow.
there after football practice, and and back in the day, I don't know how old you are, but back in the day, we used to wear in New Orleans. We used to wear Timberlands and baggy pants.
Mm.
And we were sitting there at practice one day, and my buddy, he was like, "Man, what are you doing?" I was like, "I feel like I can jump my coach's car." And it was like an old school Lincoln Continental, which is
That's
very
awesome.
high,
Yeah, yeah.
like sideways. And I was like, I feel like I can jump it. He's like, what do you, like, what, why? Like, why would you do that? And I was just like, well, I'm just going to try it. And I made it. And then once I did that, everybody asked me to do it all the time in high school. So I just kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it. Now, well, actually, I did it too many times because once I got to the rookie development league or
Mm-hmm.
the orientation that we had, they told me I couldn't do it anymore, but everybody wanted to see it, so I did it once more, and I barely made it because it
Oh,
was maybe maybe 10 degrees outside. There's no
wow.
warming up. You just do it, and I just did it. But nowadays, I weigh a lot more than I weighed back in the day.
Got.
That's mainly because I've been working out all the time. I work out 6 days a week,
Oh,
but
wow.
nowadays I'm pretty sure I can't do it. Not the way I used to, but if somebody actually challenged me because I like a challenge, I could lose the weight and probably actually do it.
Yeah, I could see in pro ball how they wouldn't like that as much.
Yeah,
But
Tampa told me not to do it
Tampa
anymore.
told you.
Once I got to the big leagues, they're like, you can't do it anymore. Just stop.
Yeah,
So,
I gotcha. Got you there.
but I had a lot of opportunities to do that on TV. David Letterman asked me to come and
Mm.
do it on his channel or his show, and Tampa. I won't say anything bad about Tampa, but
Mm-hmm.
when he asked to do it, he he had to call Tampa first. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know who exactly he needed to call, but they told him that I couldn't do it because it was mid-season.
Jeez.
But it would have been cool to go on David Letterman and jump
Oh
the
yeah.
car.
Oh yeah. Of course. That's when you know you made it. You going on those shows, you really became viral right there. So.
That would have took me to a whole nother level, but I'm kind of glad I didn't because I'm not that type of person.
Joey, I want to ask you about your time with the Boston Red Sox a little bit. I know you played with them in 2009 and then 2011 as well.
Hmm.
You played for a lot of organizations before the Red Sox, but was there a different feel being a Boston Red Sox than, say, maybe some of the other organizations you played for? Since the Red Sox are known for obviously the history and then the really loyal fan base at Fenway Park, and just for the most part, the 2 years you were there, it was a pretty winning culture. I know 2011 was a little bit of the meltdown at the end, but for the most part, you guys went to the wild card game in 2009. So was
Right.
there a different appreciation playing in a place like Boston?
Well, it's a little bit different. I mean, I went to Chicago before I went to
Mm.
Boston. So I went from Tampa Bay to Kansas City. Two teams that were, at the time, they weren't winning that much. We didn't get a lot of fans. The only time we really had fans were when we played Yankees and Red Sox.
Uh-huh.
We would only, we would sell out for those two times. And then when I got traded to Chicago, it's a whole different animal. It's just a completely different scene as far as how many people actually love baseball.
Mm-hmm.
But you asked about Boston, so I'll talk about Boston.
I'm a Red
so
Sox
when
fan, so I'm biased too with the
Well, hey,
question.
I understand. So when I went to Boston, I didn't expect much. I just expected to just show up there, and because it was somewhat that towards the end of the season, it was for the playoff run, and
Mm-hmm.
well, I got there in 2009 early, before the September call-ups, and for me, it was just like just showing up and just playing, and whenever they asked me to, and working my butt off. But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand the concept of um, how fans were and how much they love the sport of baseball. Because when I played against them when I was in Tampa and when I came there in Kansas City, the fans,
Mm-hmm.
they always booed and they always talked a lot of
Uh,
stuff. I'll say stuff because that's
yeah, I gotcha.
PG-13. And
Sure.
they said a lot of stuff, man, and I was cool with that. But I remember one instance when I was with Tampa and I just talked back to the outfield, which nobody ever does.
Uh-huh.
But I just talked back, and then they just kept ragging me and ragging me. And I think that day I was 2 for 3. And then I went to the plate for my fourth at bat, and the whole center field outfield was like Joey Gathright,
Oh,
Joey, and it was cool. The
yeah,
concept of that fan base is just like because in Tampa that would never happen. Because I don't think we had that many people
yeah.
actually at the stadium, but it was just that concept of like, man, these guys are really into the game because these guys don't know who I am. I'm playing for Tampa, but they don't know anything about me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got to Boston, to answer your question, um, it was completely different. Like I showed up there the first day, I was assuming that nobody knew who I was,
Yeah.
because at the time I was playing independent ball, and I came to Boston,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, okay, I've been out of the game for a year, and nobody's gonna know. As soon as I showed up, man, those guys were all over me, and they were all over everybody, especially David.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
And but the fact that they were just all over there, like, hey man, I remember you from you were playing in Tampa, Kansas City, blah blah blah. And I was like, man, this fan base is completely different than what I'm used to. Like, I couldn't, and I'm like a guy that didn't start, at the
Mm-hmm.
time. And if I went to the mall, if I went anywhere, pretty much those fans were
Oh
everywhere.
yeah.
They knew your face, they knew what you were doing, they knew everything about you, they knew your stats, and like random women, which I was kind of surprised about. So to answer your question, man, it was completely different. I loved every part of it, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Both years, when I went there.
Yeah, I like that a lot, man. That's a great description of Red Sox fan. I'll say I'm part of that because I feel like I know, like, if you play one game for the Red Sox, I have a feeling that I know who you are and all that stuff. So
Right,
that's a
right.
good
Well, I just got a thing in the mail the other day, and they asked us to come back for like for something, like
the
they do something like during the beginning of the season.
yeah,
What's the alumni stuff?
winter weekend thing in
Yeah, I
the
just got all that
Connecticut.
stuff.
Oh, you should have went to that. That would have been awesome, dude.
Well, I felt like I didn't deserve it. I was only there for a month and a half in 2009 and a month,
I'm
in 2011. So I didn't feel like I deserved it, but I should have gone.
next year if they give you an invite, I'm
No, they
hope
do it
please
every year.
take it. Please take it, man. They will still embrace you. I trust me.
The
Like,
thing where they invite everybody out they do the same thing with Kansas City. They invite everybody out for opening day.
oh, okay.
So that's what Boston does as well. And I just got the thing in the mail the other day. They invited me out. So I'm just not sure if I want to take it. 'Cause, there's Boston's like rich in here. It's like Kansas City I could do because it's rich in history, but everybody in Kansas City knows who I am. In Boston, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm just gonna be like another guy that's just randomly out there, like another alumni guy. But either way, man,
Yeah.
I might take advantage of it because it would be cool because I love that stadium.
Sure, man. Well,
Yeah.
hopefully you do take the invite. But now you actually great segue because my next question kind of relates to what you're talking about being an independent ball and going back to the major leagues with Boston. I mean, at the end of 2010 and then I guess most of 2011 you're playing in independent leagues in the Atlantic League, American Association. You were even in the North American League, which can't
Yeah,
believe because that league's folded now. I was
yeah.
in independent ball for 4 years, doing media stuff, so kind of
Okay.
know about indie ball a little bit. But I mean, when the Red Sox gave you that chance in 2011 to pick you up and then actually bring you back up to the major leagues, how self-rewarding was that for you to hear that news? I mean, what did that tell you about, I guess, all the hard work you put in, that it paid off to go from indie ball back to the major leagues in the same
To be
season?
honest with you, I mean, it was unexpected. I can't lie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can't complain about anything that they did. I'm not going to say who came out and saw me because it's a pretty important person that's within that Red Sox organization right now.
Mm-hmm.
When he first came out, he said, "I thought you were going to be fat." I was like, "Well, no, man. I tried my best to stay in shape." And he was like, "Well, we are." I didn't know what was going on. My agent showed up, and he was like, "Hey, I have a proposition for you." I was like, "Well, what's going on, man? You never show up, especially in indie ball." I thought my career was pretty much, at that time, I thought it was like, okay, well, I'm just going to play indie ball and have fun
Mm-hmm.
and be myself. And he showed up randomly. He's like, "Hey, I didn't even know he knew where I was." He was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I got a proposition for you. The Red Sox are calling." I was like, "Okay, cool." And then all of a sudden, that person showed up, and he was like, "Hey, I would love for you to come back out
Ooh.
and play for us." And I was like, "Okay, Chris, that's play for who?" He's like, "For the Red Sox. We're about to head to the playoffs again, and we would love for you to show up." And I thought that was crazy because in my mind, I told myself, literally a month before that, I said, somehow I'm going to figure out a way to get back to the major leagues because I shouldn't be here,
Mm-hmm.
because I know how good I am and I know what I can do. But at the time, nobody sees it. At the time, I think I was just like 342 with I don't know how many stolen
Mm-hmm.
bases, all that stuff, and all the stats don't really matter. But the fact that he actually, the Red Sox actually remembered me and followed me and
Mm-hmm.
realized that my stats were legit and thought that I was good enough to come back. It meant a lot to me. And I still love that organization for that. I should be more part of that organization than I should be. Like I'm all like the Kansas City Red Sox. All of my friends live there, so
Oh,
therefore, like
okay.
I'm always there. But I should be more indebted to that organization more than anything because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have made it back to the major leagues those last 2 years.
Were you with Long Island? Was it when you got picked up, or was it one of the other leagues?
No, 2011, I was with man, I don't even know the name of that league to be honest with you.
The
uh,
North American one, North
I
American
was
League.
yeah, I
Yumi,
was at
right?
yeah Yuma.
Yuma, yeah.
I was in Yuma, Arizona, and somehow my agent showed up and he's like, "Hey man, the Red
Oh
Sox
man,
been calling." I was like, "Why?" but and
that's
yeah, so I
amazing,
was
dude.
in Yuma, Arizona, the worst place in the world,
Yeah.
and it was the hottest place in the world. And randomly, I had to get it fixed. My air conditioning on my truck, my Yukon, or
Mhm.
actually, I'm sorry, my Escalade went out. So imagine 120 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
It only went out for like 2 days, and I had to get it fixed. But
Okay.
still, it was the worst 2 days in my entire life.
You remember it still, so it's gotta.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to remember some things, man.
Yeah.
Bad things in your life. But it was. I still love that organization. I still love playing for that team. I still love the teammates that I met. Like some of my friends that I met from that team, I'm still friends
Mm.
with right now.
There you go. That's awesome. That perfect thing about baseball, man. All those, I guess, connections you make with, I guess, strangers at the time, but that's the cool
Yeah.
thing about baseball. So, I'll ask you about another indie league team you played for because this one I'm also biased because I'm from Bridgeport, Connecticut, but you played for the
Uh,
Bluefish in 2012. Uh,
uh,
Played for Willie Upshaw, who was pretty solid in the major leagues, and then you guys had that game in Sugarland, I remember, against Roger Clemens on ESPN. And that was a big
still
deal.
mad. Still
Uh,
mad about that game.
yeah. What was your experience like with Willie and just the group of guys over there in Bridgeport? I know you're with Luis Lopez, who, is known for being is I guess a Bluefish legend over there. So,
Hmm.
just yeah, what was your time over there in Bridgeport? And I know you also got picked up by Cincinnati in the middle of that season as well. So, just talk
It
about
was
that
amazing.
season. Yeah.
I loved everything about that season because I really didn't know too much about Bridgeport, but and I still don't. It's just a small area down, and you play downtown. Well, the random thing is, at the time I was married to a lady, and her family moved to Connecticut, and they were probably about 45 minutes away. So it kind of helped everything out.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
but to talk about your story, uh, Bridgeport was fun. I love playing in that organization. I love playing for that team. Louis, Double L, we call him Double L.
Yeah. Yeah.
He to me is one of the best. I can't say mentor. You know when you have somebody that where you follow him and like he's a leader and you just feel that he's a leader.
Of course.
That's who
Yeah.
that's who Double L is, and that's what I followed. Willie was Willie was Will. He's the old school manager. He's an old school hitter. He'd
Hmm.
get in the batter's box and show us what he used to do. Straight pull hitter.
Yeah.
If you threw him anything away, he'd strike out. But he had the old school swing, man. A little hitch in his swing and pull everything, which was beautiful to watch because I love watching the old school swings.
Hmm.
Hands down low, high leg
Me
kick,
too. Yeah.
all that good stuff. So I love playing there. Double L was amazing. I met a lot of people. I also played with Kennard Jones, who
Yep.
was
KJ. I
married,
know KJ. Yeah.
right, who's married to Tony Gwynn's daughter.
Hmm.
I mean, I would play with a lot of guys, man, that you can like if you knew them before and if you know them now, they were great players. They just
Yeah.
never had the opportunity. I think if a Kennard ever had the opportunity to play in the minor leagues now, he would be successful. He may not make it to the major leagues, but he would be successful in the
Hmm.
minor leagues. But I had a great time playing there. Like I said, I met a lot of people. You meet a lot of people that ex major leaguers in the Atlantic League or
Hmm.
in the Bridgeport Connecticut League, and you meet a lot of these guys that you think could still be playing, and a lot of them go from there to the major leagues. Like Scott Kazmir, he ended up in
Yep.
Sugarland,
Oh yeah.
still trying to figure out why, and now he's
Yeah.
back in the major leagues. It's random things happen, and people end up back where they should be.
For sure. No, you definitely. And even since you've been there, I mean, I was just covering that league last year. That league has grown so much from what 2012, I guess that was, to I think this year they had like over 60 plus guys get signed just in season. Like nine
Right.
guys get back to the major leagues. I mean, almost half the league was major leaguers last year, which was crazy. So,
And Paul O'Neill is the manager of Bridgeport, I think now.
he did guest managing thing. Actually, I don't know if you remember Machete, Luis Rodriguez. He was like a
Yeah.
catcher on your team. He was the manager the last couple of years, but
Really?
yeah, but the team just folded this year, unfortunately, because various reasons I don't want to get into. But yeah, so last year was the last season for the Bluefish, unfortunately. But
I did not know that.
last question for you. I listened to another interview you did, I don't know how many years back, and I heard you mention you went to Derek Jeter's birthday party one year. Can you elaborate on how you actually got invited to Derek Jeter's birthday party and
Okay,
some
first off,
of
how do you know about that?
you mentioned
Wow.
in an interview someone. So yeah, I'm just curious how you got that invitation and I guess some of the celebrities you met or saw there as well.
I will tell you how I got invited. We'll go from there.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so the first time I played New York in spring training, Derek Jeter was obviously at shortstop.
Hmm.
So I had the ball to shortstop, and he tried to do his well, actually it was a normal base hit or ball on the ground to shortstop, and I did beat it out, and then I
Wow.
stole second, and I got to second. And I saw Derek, and I was like, "Hey, Mr. Jeter." He said, "First off, just call me DJ." I said, "Okay, cool, cool." And he was
Yeah.
like, "Well." He's like, man, you're very fast. I was like, you are very good. I'm from New Orleans, so we have
Sure.
like quick responses all the time. And he's like, well, hey, let me ask you a question. What are you doing today? I was like, well, I'm not doing anything. He's like, well, I have my golf tournament. He has his birthday golf tournament,
Hmm.
and then he has his birthday party the same day. So I have my tournament tonight or tomorrow, and then I have my party tomorrow night. And I said, okay, cool. That's awesome. He's like, no, no, no. What I'm saying is you're invited. And I'm just sitting there like, in my mind, I'm like, all right, cool. In my head, I'm like, why did Derek Jeter just invite
my
me
God.
to his party, man. It's like in my mind, I'm going crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm trying to play it cool because I'm on second base.
Yeah.
So what else am I supposed to say? So you know, going to the golf tournament, it was best ball. They used my ball probably once because I'm not very good at golf. And I called my accountant at the time, and I told him, I was like, "Hey, man, we're gonna go to DJ's party." He's like, "Who the hell's DJ?" I was like, "Derek Jeter." I was like, "Man, well," he's like, "Well, let's just go." He invited you? I was like, "Yeah." Apparently, we got to go through the back and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody can have cell phones. But anyway, long story short, I met all the celebrities I've ever wanted to meet in sports that night. Eli Manning was the first person I ever met. For real, the first celebrity.
Yeah.
Like I know everybody in baseball, but like meeting celebrities that are in different sports is cool. So Eli was the first one I ever met. And he was very nice, and then he took me. And the crazy thing about it is, Derek Jeter took me throughout the entire room to meet everybody until I got to the one person I wanted to meet, and I didn't think he was there, and that was Michael Jordan.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah, out of everybody I've ever I was like meeting like superstars, man, Hall of Famers in every sport. And I asked him, I was like, "Is Michael here?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's here, but he doesn't really like meeting people." And then I finally met him. I met Michael Jordan for the first time, and that was like the epitome of my night. I didn't really have to do anything else after that except for meet other people.
All right, man. Good stuff. Very appreciative of you doing this, Joey. So thank you again.
No doubt, brother.
All right. Thanks, Joey. Appreciate it, man.